An awake mind is one that is unable to attach to thoughts. And so you're unable to believe the content that is floating around there. And you know that there is no person here that is having those thoughts. So that is not capable. You're not capable of doing that anymore when that permanent shift happens. So this isn't just a phase or a momentary thing that happens. This truly is a permanent way that the mind operates from that moment onward, is that it's just literally unable to attach to thoughts. And so we get glimpses of this as we're going through the awakening process, where we start to get an insight as to what's to come as far as the mind awakening part, by the mind stopping from being able to attach to thoughts. And this might happen for minutes or hours or days. It'll be different each time and for each person, but it will be a grace, and it will just stop operating in that way. It will just literally stop being able to attach to thoughts. And this gives you an insight as what it's going to be like when the mind is permanently awake. And so, as you'll see, when you have one of those experiences, you don't do anything. You're not doing a spiritual practice. You're not trying to stay in the position of awareness. There's no intention there. It's just happening automatically. That's just how the mind is operating, is that it's unable to attach to thoughts. You cannot believe them. And it's just the way that it's functioning. And so when you're permanently awake through the mind, that's how you are all the time. So you're just not able to attach to thoughts, and you pay the mind no attention at all, and it pretty much just is sort of dormant there in the background and can be used as a tool if necessary to solve a problem or to plan something, and it's happy to be activated and to be used, and then it goes quiet again, which is how it stays most of the time. And this is what gives you that great sense of peace that you have when you have an awake mind, is that it is very silent, and you really don't have any desire to use the mind. And I'd say each year, as you get deeper into being awake, the desire to think really just, it dissolves, and the desire for just being empty grows. And so the mind is used less and less, and it really just sort of fades into the background. So it certainly can be there, and something can still activate it for sure, but you're not going to believe what it's saying. That's the difference. And so that's what lets most of the suffering go, is because believing our thoughts is what creates the majority of our suffering. It's what creates our psychological suffering. And so, of course, if the mind's not able to believe them anymore, of course, there's not going to be suffering anymore. So this is one of the things that shifts at the permanent mind awakening, is it's often called the end of suffering, but it's really the end of psychological suffering. And that's because you can't believe your thoughts anymore. That's why the suffering ends, is because if you can't believe what the mind is saying, and you can't believe that you're a person there that's in control, that's having those thoughts, that has a life that needs to be in control of. With that, all that pressure goes, all that responsibility goes, all that need to try and control things, and then the regret and the shame and feelings of guilt and all of these things that we inflict upon ourselves by believing in the dream, in believing in separation. All of that is just totally gone. It's just wiped out immediately the sooner the permanent mind awakening happens, and it feels like a burden is lifted. And it's because the mind finally is at peace and knows its limitations. It realizes what it actually is, and that it's not a person, and that it can just relax, and you just get this very deep state of relaxation and peace that comes with that, but also freedom. And so it's really lovely, because this is really the end of the psychological suffering, but it's because you can't believe those thoughts. So I guess my point is that the awake mind is one of like a permanent state of meditation, where you're not able to, but you're not doing a practice, you're not attempting, you're not putting any attention or focus on it. the automatic way that the mind operates is one of not attaching to thoughts. That's the difference between any kind of earlier shift or glimpse to do with the mind and the permanent mind awakening, is that you'll know, and it's pretty obvious to you, that you've had a permanent mind awakening, not just because of all the build-up that happens before that, and it's all can be quite dramatic, and there can be a lot to it when that shift happens, and also that your suffering is gone, which is pretty obvious for most of us, but also just that the mind is basically silent most of the time. Not permanently silent, it still can be used, but what is permanent is that you don't hook onto thoughts. You're literally in the position of awareness. Automatically, that's taken the front seat, and the mind is empty, and it enjoys being empty. It doesn't want to think. It wants to do as little as possible. It wants to relax.